Hey all, welcome back to another Frodo video. This is going to be something that I like to do early on. We're going to work on some Tarp training. So this will be a quick video just going over this session. Previously, I'd had him go over the Tarp. I don't know if I filmed that, but I had worked on that before, so it was time to start putting it on his back. I was having a little bit of difficulty squeezing sessions in between the Florida thunderstorms, so what I filmed is kind of what I got. So I start kind of like I do all of the other tools that I use in training. Y'all would have seen in the previous video where I was working with the ribbon stick, putting it on him and having him move around. So it's basically the same concept. I want to touch him with the object so he gets to know what it is and realizes that it's not something that's going to hurt him. And then I want him to be able to see it moving around in his space and to follow it and investigate it. So the more times I can put something on him and take it off, the more comfortable he's going to get with it. So instead of putting it on and leaving it on him for long periods of time that might stress him out too much, I'll just quickly bring it up to him, take it away, and then repeat that so I can use a little bit of pressure and release and counter conditioning, which is where you slowly get the horse accustomed to something in small doses, starting with the least scary form. That's why I have the tarp folded up, because it's not as scary to him as if it's all unfurled and making lots of noise. So if I can make it as easy and non-stressful as possible for him, that will be my goal. Slowly over time, he'll start to learn that there might be things that scare him or cause him to worry, but that they're not going to be the end of the world for him, and he can trust me to help him through these situations. So having something fall off him is going to spook him a little bit, but it's going to build his confidence as he realizes that nothing bad happens. In time, something's going to fall off him. Maybe someone's tacking him up and the saddle pad blows off in the wind, or a person falls off, and he needs to know how to handle that situation instead of panicking because it's the first time it's ever happened. So if I can get him used to that in a calm, controlled training environment, he's going to be set up for success later on in life. One thing I'll always do is let the horse sniff and investigate something. I want to reward that curiosity, and it's great to see that he's comfortable checking out the new object. So sometimes he gets a little nervous and says he's not ready for that step yet, and that's what he was doing when he was sidestepping away from the tarp. So I'll reposition him, I'll have him follow it for a second, and I'll try to see what I can do to get him more comfortable with it. So here I'm going to hold it on his shoulder while asking him to take a couple steps. And he can only offer a few steps at a time because he's still figuring out this game, but this is exactly what I was doing in the previous video, where I'm getting the horse comfortable with something in motion before I ask him to do it at a standstill. This will help him feel more relaxed instead of freezing up and just going into a tense, frozen state. So now I'll have him start to move around with the tarp on him. This is a little different than me putting it on him while he's moving, but that's something we'll work more on later. This is a good way to get them used to having things on their back before you start putting tack on them. I like to introduce the tarp first because then by the time they're wearing the saddle, they're pretty comfortable with things going on them and making noise. And for the same reason, by the time I get on, they've already seen things on both sides of them and heard things that make noise on their back. It's also a good way to get your horse ready to be wearing a blanket.
cute. Are you so cute? Are you a little looking shoe? You guys said you wanted sped up instead of jump cuts, so here we go.
So I'm going to speed up a little bit of this process just because it was a lot of repetition. I like to slowly get my horses comfortable with something new so that we can build up that trust and that communication. And he can start to realize that the things I introduce him to, although they're weird, they're not going to hurt him. So I'll spend some time giving him releases like you saw me, crouching down, letting him lower his head and relax, and then I'll go back into the exercise. So I like when I can slowly start to slide back on him. It doesn't have to just sit where the saddle sits. It can help him get used to things all over his body. And he did really well for having it drag on the ground. That's something that scares a lot of horses. And a lot of horses have difficulty, especially when it's near their back legs. And so I really thought that he used his mind in that situation and he thought through that very well. So I can tell all the preparation that I've done with the other tools is starting to pay off, as Frodo was thinking through the tarp quite well. Here he started to get a little fidgety, so I was just giving him some time. You can see I didn't put it on him right away. I was just letting him think about it. And so I would do where I put it on and take it away a few times, and by the time I actually put it over his back, he feels more like he's ready. So then when I start to unfurl the tarp, it becomes a lot of stimulus. It's on both sides, it's touching his legs, he stepped on it, but he's thinking really hard. It's very normal for them to have some spooks when it's like that, and I kind of just wanted to see how he would do with all the preparation that we've put in. So tarp training, well, it's something I do fairly early on with most Mustangs. It's something I'll do after I've worked with the flag, after I've worked with the ribbon stick, so they already have a precedent of how to act in these situations. They already have some trust in me and some understanding of these exercises, and while he pulled it off him and scared himself a little there, he still did very, very well. So I just folded it up, and I wanted to reassure him, not every time I put something on you is it going to do something scary like that. So I was really happy with how he did. But like I said, this is not something I'll just jump right into. I'll make sure I have all the key preparations in place first. Well, I was really happy with how Frodo did in this session, so stay tuned to see some more of his learning in future videos.